Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, August is National Frizz Hair Month, so that's something for you to celebrate. And the people who invented this month of the frizzy hair, they are telling us that we should celebrate it by giving a gift to people we know who have frizzy hair. Let me just tell you what frizzy hair is. In the old days, in the 80s and 90s, it was that big hairstyle. It was considered to be very attractive if you had hair which really pushed out or protruded out from your head. It looked like you had some kind of electric shock. Women often had palms or poodle palms to try to create this look, or they would hold this look in place by using hairspray. Men also often had big hair in the 1980s and 90s, and it was considered to be very fashionable. And people with frizzy hair often pull their hair back into a scrunchie. A scrunchie is that little ring of elastic which holds your hair in place if you pull it back into a ponytail. Yeah. These days, it's very popular for men to pull their hair back with a scrunchie as well, that little ring of elastic. And some men even have the man bun. Our grandmothers, as I'm sure you probably remember in your country too, for practical reasons, used to pull long hair and tie it up into a little ball or a big ball at the back of the head. And that was called the bun. It's called the bun because it looks like a cake, the bun. And now many men do that as well. Not to have a big ball at the back of their head, but to have a little ball somewhere on their head tied in with a man scrunchie, a little bit of elastic which doesn't look very feminine. I'm sure you know what I mean. They often tie it up on the top of their head. Football players do it. They have the man bun. So those are some different types of hairstyles. If you do have frizzy hair, congratulations. I always thought that frizzy hair was just a natural phenomenon, but according to this report that I've seen today, frizzy hair is actually caused by humidity and it can be very damaging to your head. I had no idea. I just thought it depended on which part of the world you came from. But no, apparently it can be caused by natural phenomenon. So happy National Frizz Month if you're affected by that. I don't know why the month is called National Anti-Frizz Month. I always thought that frizzy hair was quite attractive. Just to describe it again, frizz and frizzy hair is when your hair is kind of big and out of control. It was considered to be very fashionable at different points of history. It was a big thing for pop stars in the 1980s and 90s to have big frizzy hair. And as I mentioned before, women often try to recreate that look by having poodle palms or curly palms to make their hair look very frizzy. But yeah, apparently, it's not so popular, which is why this month is called Anti-Frizz. I think it's because they're saying that frizzy hair is actually damaging for your hair, so you shouldn't try to ignore it if it's a natural thing that's happening to your head. You shouldn't think, oh, it's just because of my genes. you should actually try to do something with it. Otherwise, you could end up with split hairs, which is when the hair in your head splits and makes it uncontrollable. To split hairs in English is also a metaphor. It means to disagree over a really minor thing which has no relevance to anyone. So if you see two people arguing in England or in the UK somewhere about something which really isn't so important, about whether a particular thing happens or doesn't, you might hear them resolve the argument by saying, look, let's not split hairs on this, let's just move on. It's very, very interesting. We use that a lot. In fact, I was talking to someone yesterday and we were trying to decide whether pasta and spaghetti tasted the same. For me, it does. The texture's different, but the taste is the same. But they were telling me, no, spaghetti has a different taste. And I said, look, let's not split hairs on this because we'll be here all day arguing about these small points. Some people like frizzy hair and some people don't. It's a personal preference. Speaking of personal preferences, I want to move on a little bit and talk about ways of learning English. Because I'm noticing that some of you are telling me, oh, I don't want to speak English until my English is perfect. And this is something which, again, came up yesterday in one of my classes. Somebody was saying, no, I will not speak. No one will hear my English until it's perfect. It's almost like you think there's a nirvana out there, a place called perfect English, which is, of course, not right, because the more you learn, the more you are realizing there's more to learn. It doesn't stop, So to have this attitude of not speaking until your English is perfect really is not sensible. I can understand the idea behind it. It's mainly pride. You don't want to see yourself making a mistake. But yet, the people who are most successful are the ones who are not afraid of mistakes and they simply are able to carry on. This is something which is very, very important in language learning. Just like when you're learning to walk, you make a mistake, you fall, you stand up, and you move on. Now, there are different places in the world where people don't learn that way. And I'm thinking specifically across Asia, where the idea is you learn the rules. And then you reach age 20 or 30, and you come to a teacher and you say, yeah, I learned English as a child, but I've never spoken it. Which for me seems really, really weird. Learning all the rules of a language and never actually demonstrating it. It's bizarre. But that's the way some people are and some cultures are. But learning to speak from the very first day and engaging with other people is almost certainly the most successful way to move forward. Also, in life and in language learning, the same as everything else, you need to give in order to receive. And I'm not talking about language exchanges here. I mean, the more English you're able to put out there, the more you see that you're able to talk. If you just have this attitude, oh, can't do that, I can't speak, someone else's problem. No, 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 I'm not going to do it. Then you're not going to get very far. I understand how scary it is to enter into an English conversation, but uh, the consequences of not doing it means that you don't grow. And the more you do it, the more that comes back to you. Because the more you speak English, the more you'll interact with others, and you'll see that English is coming. It's not just something that's um, you buy from a teacher. It's not just something you wait until you have a vocabulary list for. The more you speak, the more you create that atmosphere, and the more English you get back in return. It's one of these life principle things, you know. If you have an apple tree in your garden, if you don't collect the fruit and use it, the tree will continue to give you fruit next year, but there'll be such a waste for the first year. You know, every few months you collect the fruit with an expectation that more fruit is coming. You don't say to yourself, oh, I'm not going to touch that fruit because maybe if I do, it all ends. So it's the same kind of idea. You know, it's like if you go on a first date, and we've all done this. You have a date with someone and it just doesn't go well. The other person sits there, doesn't say anything, smiles. You pay for dinner, and you were hoping for a nice, enjoyable evening. And in the end, it turns into a very tense and sour evening. And again, the same principle. What you put into it, you get out of it. So, learning to speak from the first day and pushing forward with that is really, really important. If you're waiting for a nirvana to happen, or to reach before you speak English with your colleagues, I'm afraid you're going to have a very long wait, and it will be a waste of time. You know, yesterday I was helping someone prepare for the IELTS exam. And I asked them to describe a beautiful place, and they told me it is green, it is in my country, it is in the north. And I told them, okay, yeah, your vocabulary is good, but you need to build up some better grammar there. Maybe try some comparatives, you know. For example, compared to other places, unlike other places, in contrast to other places. And the person smiled at me and said, "Oh, but that's advanced. That's not my level. No, no. I'm only B2." I said, "Right, okay then. Well, uh, what mark are you hoping to get in the IELTS then?" And the person said, "Oh, 8." I said, "You want to get 8, but you don't want to use comparatives." No, no, not my level. I said, "Well, how do you propose to get to that level then?" Well, I mean, of course, I need to study for that. I said, okay, well, I'm simply asking you to use a handful of words here, you know, compared to, in contrast to. Could you use both of those? Oh, well, I suppose I could, but it's not my level. I said, okay, so are you open enough to be moving on to reach a new level? I just want an 8 in the IELTS. That's it. 8 IELTS 8. I said, yeah, but you know, to get that 8, you something has to change. You know, even your opinion about your English has to change. I did IELTS before and I got 6. I said, okay, so what do you think would bring you an 8 then? More practice. I said, okay, but uh, would you use these comparatives in the exam? Not until my English is perfect. When my English is perfect, then I'll use these. And you see, there was this whole idea of um, this whole idea that until a level is reached somehow, she's not going to use these. But it's one of these never-ending circles, because she has to use these to get her level to go up. So the whole thing just became a very bizarre conversation which went round in one big circle. She has to learn, but she won't. And so, of course, eventually that's the way the conversation died. I had this with another student fairly recently. He was doing an exam, and again, this issue of comparatives came up, and he told me, I don't want to learn this. I said, yeah, but you do know that you need to learn it. Yeah, but I don't want to. I said, okay. He said, for the exam, I have to learn this. I said, it's not a question of learning it for the exam. It's learning it for your English. If if you don't show the examiner the best of what you can do, then um, you're not going to get a good mark. And his response was, well, it's not in my book. And I said, okay, it's not in your book. So does that mean that the book has everything that you have to learn? And the conversation again died. And he decided to choose another teacher that wouldn't force him to learn, but would just tell him that his English was fantastic and wouldn't push him out of his comfort zone. And very sad, that kind of attitude. But it does happen. Some people, don't want to get to that next point. So if you are feeling like that today, just remember a big part of learning English is being open. And that's really important. Well, here in the UK, the sun is shining right now, even though it's very early in the morning. So I'm hoping to get my grass cut today. And I'm worried about it because it's getting quite high and there's more rain forecast for tomorrow. So to get it cut today would be wonderful before I start work. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.